Hey everybody, I am doing another live stream here, and I wanted to do live streams in the mornings, and so this is a lunch thing which is different. And the reason for that being different today is I this morning I had a last minute change of mind about what the topic was going to be. That's one reason. The other thing is I was messing around with this software trying to figure out how to sync the audio with the video. I was doing the whole clapping and watching the audio spike and trying to adjust the audio delay to match the video, and hopefully it's a little better now. But as I was doing that, I kind of ran out of time and had to get to work doing my real job. And so I decided I'm just going to put it off until lunchtime. And so here I am at lunchtime. And the reason I had a last minute change of topic this morning was because I thought I wanted to say something about D-Day. And I wanted to say something from a little bit different perspective because a lot of people are already talking about it, or already have said a lot of things that are a lot more eloquent than what I could say, and doing a lot better, communicating certain things than I would even bother trying to communicate. So I'm gonna just go off on a little tangent, actually. So my perspective, I'm actually going to just kind of use D-Days to a way to kind of springboard into maybe something a little bit, maybe something that hardly even related to D-Day at all. But my granddad, well, let me go back and say this. When you think about D-Day, you would think that it's a world event. Everybody knew what happened right after it happened. Newspapers had the big headlines: France invaded. Everybody knew, whether friend or foe, it was a big world news. And you would think that if you didn't know what was happening, then you were living under a rock somewhere. And my granddad was in the military. He was in the Army. He was 19 years old at the time, and he had no clue what happened. And it would be quite a while before he did. And so there's a reason for that. He wasn't living under a rock, but he was living in a prisoner of war camp in Japan. And so he didn't know. They didn't tell him any news. That was part of the psychological manipulation, is they don't tell the prisoners of war any news, whether good or bad. Whether local or international, they just kept him totally in the dark. So obviously it would be a while before he knew what had happened. The Americans had invaded, and the Allies had invaded France. But I was thinking about his perspective on things at that time. And at that time, he was in a prisoner of war camp in Japan, and friends were dying. He was being enslaved, hard labor every day, being beaten, threatened to be killed all the time, that kind of scenario. But he had a realistic optimism, which was very important for survival. To have an optimism that is based on a realistic view of things, and it was an optimism that he expected to make it out of there alive, but didn't also take it for granted that he would make it out of there alive. It was also an optimism that gave him hope that he could make a difference day by day while he was there. So he'd wake up every morning and think that he could actually do something with his day, that very day, that would make a difference. And so and that was part of his goal, was to wake up every day and get to work. And it might seem to some people that were more idealistic that waking up every day and working for your enemy would be a defeatist thing. Why would you want to wake up and work every day for your enemy? But to him, that was a motivation. He wanted to do that. That was a goal for him, to make sure that he got up every day and worked for the people that were holding him captive. And he saw that work as a means to keep his body healthy and to keep himself alive, because he made himself valuable to his captors. But also, it's put him in places where they could sabotage the work that they were doing for their captors. So that's how he could make a difference, and in the short term. But he also had a long-term optimism. He did expect to make it out of there. And one of the reasons for that is early on, he had a friend that died, and this friend told him, looked at him and said, Glenn, I think you're the only one of us that's going to make it out of here alive. And my granddad may have not seen that in himself. He may not have expected that he would make it out of there alive, but he did. Hold on a second. Someone's bringing me food for lunch. I'm just going to leave the live stream right here. Just hold on a sec. All right. Oh, got some video. Okay, that was my daughter bringing me lunch. All right, so I was talking about having a realistic optimism, right? And so his friend, he may not have seen himself as the one who would survive out of their group. He was talking about their group of friends, out of us, out of this the group of people that we know. He looked at my granddad and said, "You're the most likely to survive." My granddad might have thought that didn't make any sense. Why would I be the one that would survive? But that did give him a sense of hope, because someone else saw something in him that he didn't see in himself. And maybe his friend was just saying something to encourage him. You know what? Who knows? Maybe it was just a comment that was kind of empty, but it was, just to kind of give him some encouragement. But did he really believe that my granddad was the most likely to survive? I don't know, but he told him that, and that gave my granddad hope, because somebody else saw something in him that basically said, "You've got what it takes to make it out of here." So he had some confidence and some hope that somebody else could see that in him, and he thought, well, if he sees it in me, then maybe I've got it. Maybe I do have what it takes. And the other thing is his friend that died gave him a long-term goal, which was to make it back to America to see this guy's family, to deliver a message to this guy's family. So he had a long-term goal. So now he's got his short-term goals to get up and work every day, and he's got his long-term goals. He believed he can make a difference in both things, and he believed he had what it takes. And part of it was because somebody told him that he had what it takes to make it out of there alive. And these are very important things. And this is something, thinking about D-Day, it kind of got me along that train of thought that brought all these things to mind, about where my granddad was at this time. These were the things that were going through his mind. And so I wanted to make a comment about how America, I was also thinking about how America has changed since then, and not only America in general, but American soldiers in particular. A few weeks ago, I was talking to a retired Army guy, Green Beret, Special Forces type guy, and was talking to him about the things that have been changing in the military recently, and what he's seen, trying to pick his brain to see what he has seen himself, to verify some of the things that I've heard. And one of the things that I came away thinking is, how in the world do soldiers know what they're fighting for? And how are they going to have the conviction to fight when they don't have what they're fighting for? See, when we think about what were soldiers fighting for in World War II, we think of abstract ideas a lot, like freedom and liberty. But to them, those abstract ideas were connected to real life things. Freedom meant a certain form of government for their communities and for their families to live under. It meant specific individuals. They're thinking about their friends and their family and their towns and their counties and their individual communities being under a specific type of government that afforded them the ability to not be a slave. They didn't want their families to be slaves or their fellow citizens to be slaves. And they had an idea about what an American was, what American values were, but those American values weren't just abstract ideas. They were connected to real places and real people. And today, if we have an idea that 50% of Americans are your enemies, or that the American government, all governmental institutions from Washington, D.C. down to your local parking ticket agency and everything in between is systematically unjust and corrupt and needs to be rebuilt, then where are you going to get the conviction to fight and defend those things? And I don't know how far we've gone, but it seems like we don't really have anything that people don't have the conviction about the goodness of certain types of government or the American people and any virtue in those things, or any perceived virtue in those things is tarnished or lost to the point that I don't see how people could have a conviction to fight anymore. I don't see how we can have, I know some people will, but I don't see how we can have a whole army of people that have the conviction to fight like we used to be able to have. And we're not going to be able to get that back, that conviction, unless we have a foundation, a solid foundation on which to rest these things, a virtuous foundation on which to rest our forms of government and our communities and our people, and what is valuable and virtuous about them. Where does that come from? There has to be an unshakable foundation. We can't build it on sand and expect it to stand. And I want to encourage people, when you look at the situation like that and think, well, this is hopeless. I want to encourage you, just like my granddad had in a situation that seemed much more hopeless, that there is hope. There is daily purpose to getting up and getting to work every day, getting up and doing something productive. There's a purpose to what you're doing every day, and you have what it takes. I'm talking to the Christian men here, talking to the brethren. You have what it takes. Like Ephesians 2, verse 10 talks about how you are God's workmanship, prepared beforehand. God's a craftsman, and you are what he is crafting, and he's preparing you for works. Yeah, craftsmanship for. I know I'm butchering the verse, but look it up. Ephesians 2:10. You're prepared. He's crafting you for works that are prepared beforehand. So he has works for you to do. This is actual physical works, things to do with your hands and feet that he's prepared you for, and you've got what it takes because God's making you prepared for it. He's giving you what it takes. So you got what it takes, and you have purpose. And I want to give you that realistic optimism, and that's one of the reasons why I'm doing these live streams. And I'm going to read Psalm 4 in closing. That's going to give you a little bit of that confidence and encouragement, hopefully. And then I'll try to do this again tomorrow morning. Now, maybe if I get a lot of people that think that the lunchtime is a better time to do this, and maybe I'll switch to lunchtime instead of morning. I don't know. I'm just kind of playing around with these live stream things here. But I'm going to plan on being back doing another live stream in the morning. And anyway, God bless you guys. Here's Psalm 4. Let me pull it up. I was going to pull it up on here, but it's not working. All right. Hear me when I call, O God of my righteousness. Thou hast enlarged me when I was in distress. Have mercy upon me and hear my prayer. O ye sons of men, how long will you turn my glory into shame? How long will you love vanity and seek after lies? But know that the Lord has set apart him that is godly for himself. The Lord will hear when I call him. Stand in awe and sin not. Commune with your own heart upon your bed and be still. Offer the sacrifices of righteousness and put your trust in the Lord. There be many that say, who will show us any good? Lord, lift up the light of my countenance upon us. Lift up the light of thy countenance upon us. Thou hast put gladness in my heart, more than in the time that their corn and their wine increased. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. Christ is King.